Almighty God, we offer our prayers to you and seek your protection for everyone in our blessed country. We pray, O God, for you to protect us from harm and sickness, so that we may have the strength to look after one another. O merciful Lord, we pray that you will continue to bless our land and those who cultivate our crops, so that there may always be food. We pray that no one will ever go hungry. Grant us understanding, equal vision, and balanced minds. Guide us along a path of faith, devotion, and wisdom. Help us to recognize that each of us is equal, that we are all equal in humanity. Give us your protection so that we may live in safety together and grow strong and free together. We pray that everyone will find love and peace in their daily lives. Dear God, we pray for our political leader. We pray for members of this team. Protect them, God, and give them the strength and courage to continue their service to our nation without fear or favor. Thank you, God, for keeping your children free in our democratic state, where every creed and race finds an equal place. Dear God, we beseech you to bless our leaders, bless our people, and bless our country.
Father God, it's me again. Father God, it's me, your son again. Father.
This is the virtual campaign. On the ballot. Why wait? The time is now.
Go this time. Father God, I make them fight me so hard. I look at things to me.
This is the virtual campaign. On the ballot now. The UNC candidate for the constituency of Tunapuna, Mr. David Naki.
I wish all my brothers and sisters in each and every community of Trinidad and Tobago a hearty welcome to our virtual meeting, and specifically to the amazing constituents of Tunapuna who embody the diversity and dynamism manifested writ large throughout our beloved country. As a former player and captain of our national team, and a man who has been involved in political and social activism internationally, I have been in the public eye for most of my life. Although some of my struggles for social, economic, and racial equality have been controversial, my integrity and intentions remain unquestionable. I was therefore blown away by the courage of our political leader with our out-of-the-box thinking and a screening committee to nominate me as the man to lead the economic, social, cultural, and sporting revival of the great village of Tunapuna. It is a duty and responsibility that I will attack with unerring commitment and dedication. The famous African-American author, poet, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou wrote, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Fact, for 43 of 58 years, the People's National Movement has governed this country, and for 58 of those 58 years has had representation in the most underserved, under-resourced, and poverty-stricken communities in the nation that exists. This present government has indeed shown the entire national community what they are made of, and we as a nation have suffered for it. Fact, the worst performing schools in Trinidad and Tobago, to paraphrase the academic Theodore Lewis, are the schools located in areas considered P&M strongholds. Subsequently, but not surprisingly, leading to the highest rates of unemployment, crime, and poverty throughout those self-same communities. 43 out of 58 years. Fact, Trinidad and Tobago is ranked 84th on the corruption index worldwide out of 180 countries and continues its slide under this present government. 43 out of 58 years. It is with these facts in hand that I intend to present Tunapuna as a model of development to the national community over the next 5 years of dynamic change served by a UNC government. Within 10 days of being the UNC's candidate for Tunapuna, my team and I have already identified 15 major areas of neglect that exist within the constituency and are already engaged in the transformation necessary to meet the needs of the people. I will mention now, for the sake of time, 5. 1. We will transform Tunapuna into the health industrial hub of the Caribbean, perfectly located along the east-west corridor with highly recommended private medical facilities and health services. The UNC government intends to revive and expand the flailing Academy of Nursing and Allied Health. I have spoken with the various stakeholders, and they have lamented the fact that our better qualified nurses and healthcare technicians have no choice but to seek greener pastures abroad. As a person intimately familiar with my mother's work in the healthcare industry for over 50 years of her life, and having had the honor to be the first matron of the Mount Hope Medical Complex, it is painful to see the almost inhumane treatment of healthcare workers by the present PNM government, where nurses have to strike for their just due instead of being allowed to do what I know they love best, assisting and improving the lives of fellow citizens. With facilities such as COSTAT and UE already in place in the Tunapuna constituency, an entire line of healthcare workers from scrub technicians, lab technicians, radiographers, dental assistants, occupational and physiotherapists can be educated and immediately employed in what will be a revived and expanded Cora Hospital. Arima Hospital and a host of other medical facilities along the east-west corridor will serve as a perfect pipeline. Not only will the massive unemployment in the constituency be alleviated, but the transition from living below the poverty line to meaningful, well-paid jobs removes the need for entering into the ever-waiting illegal activity, thereby transforming the underrepresented communities. I have already initiated 3 agribusinesses and a mango process industry to benefit the unemployed youth of the constituency. It is inconceivable, as my second point, that a constituency has as its borders the Cora River with 6 million gallons of water flowing daily, and the St. Joseph River with 4 million gallons of water flowing daily, should be without water in their homes without days and on end for months. I have personally visited communities from First and Second Trace in Tunapuna proper to Lamango, Wharf Trace, and La Saiba on its outskirts. And not only the inadequacy, but the idiocy of this PNM government water delivery and supply is appalling. As my fearless cousin says, catch it, store it, and deliver it, because it is there. I couldn't agree more. We of the incoming UNC government will do precisely that. As citizens struggling to make ends meet are paying both WASA and water suppliers in order to have a semblance of dignified living. The credo of water is life has long been cast away by uncaring PNM policies. I have already delivered 2 community water tanks, and we built a garbage collection point that was urgently needed by the Lamango community. I have also identified 2 locations where reservoirs can be constructed to enable a proper and constant water supply to all constituents. The water is there and has always been there. Now the political will of our honorable political leader will be implemented. Everyone who travels through the Tunapuna constituency dreads the traffic that will be encountered at almost any time, day and night. I have immediately identified that traffic relief will come with not only the proper implementation of one-way traffic at peak hours on designated roads, but the construction of a bridge over the Cova River into the 5 rivers to avoid the bottleneck congestion as drivers try to reconnect with the Eastern Main Road. Better flowing traffic will encourage not only more commercial and retail activity, but will incentivize investors into the constituency. Competition will compel store owners to upgrade and provide employment to the constituents of Tunapuna. The road infrastructure which has never been addressed by an uncaring and visionless PNM, will have to be improved to facilitate this new and simple solution to the atrocious traffic congestion currently present in Tunapuna. I have already identified 35 major potholes in this constituency and paid for the proper filling and grading of these swimming pools, as they are called, in locations like Lakpat Road, St. Cecilia Road, and Rock Bay Road, to name a few. The political leader and her will is again at work. 4, the issue of garbage collection was even more startling to me than that of the gigantic potholes. More than 57 unattended and putrid sites were identified by my team. As stated before, one has already been rebuilt, and by next week, 20 of these locations will be cleaned by my team, with proposals to the delinquent and never present Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation and its current MP, Esmond Ford, being sent protocols on how to be advised on how to manage proper garbage collection, and how to possibly engage the help of your party's political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley. Esmond, pick up the phone and call him like we do in the UNC. He has obviously ignored you, and by extension, the people of Tunapuna. The elephant in my address to you, my fellow citizens, is patently obvious: the issue of crime. It plagues not only Tunapuna, but the entire East-West corridor. The PNM government and the arrogant, misguided tribal policies of its leaders has never addressed the root cause of crime, only its manifestations. So the Commissioner of Police is given the Herculean task, almost impossible task, of stopping crime. But those who are aware know that the COP is not equipped to fight the social inequities that fuel crime. Crime will only abate when the national community has equal access to the resources of the Treasury. The PM has never cared about the lives of their so-called base. The facts prove it, despite the money that they spend on social media imaging. But the country has had enough. The people, regardless of their political persuasion, are crying out for transformation, one of a holistic nature, one that brings us together as Trimbegonians, all of us. No longer must there be an Indo party or an African party. And our political leader has shown the necessary bravery and political will just by her selection of young, diverse candidates to represent you, the people. Anyone who selects a David Naked as a prospective MP shows serious intent to transform the country. And Kamla Prasad Bisasa is that person. I will not let you down. She will not let you down. You, my fellow citizens, must not let yourselves down anymore. Let UNC be your change, your holistic transformation, as we enrich, and empower all communities to eventually merge as one united Trinidad and Tobago. May Almighty God bless and keep you all safe and rightly guided.
Father God, it's me again. Father God, it's me, your son again. Father,
This is the virtual campaign on the ballot. Why wait? The time is now.
Go this time, Father God, I made them fight me so hard. I look at things to me.
This is the virtual campaign on the ballot now. The UNC candidate for the constituency of Chaguanas West, Mr. Dinesh Rambali.
Good evening to all of you proud UNC supporters, and good evening to all of you concerned citizens. Thank you for allowing us into your homes. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, last Friday was Labor Day, and I would like to first start off this evening by paying tribute to the labor movement. They did not allow COVID-19 protocols to hamper their traditional observances. This, in my view, was very important for the country. You see, the toughest times faced by the labor movement and the working class of our beloved country has been under this PNM government. We may have all lost count, but estimated figures suggest that there are more than 100,000 unemployed persons in our country. Do you remember that in 2016, more than 600 workers were sent home from ArcelorMittal? In response to that situation, the Minister of Labor, Mrs. Jennifer Baptiste Primus, who I must say is an expert in social distancing and practicing quarantine measures, she said then that within 3 weeks, she will be hosting a consultation, inviting all stakeholders to come and sit down and look at the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, the Retrenchment and Severance Benefits Act, the Companies Act, and that she would also hold consultation with the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. She told the nation that these pieces of legislation would be amended to protect workers. Almost 5 years later, nothing has happened. We have had the closure of major entities like Centrin, Petrotrin, and methanol and ammonia plants, resulting in thousands of jobs being lost, and nothing has happened. Today's newspapers report that 6 petrochemical plants have now been shut down in the last 6 months. 6 plants in 6 months. Our largest ammonia producer, Nutrien, has now closed one of its plants. We are yet to receive the information as to exactly how many workers stand to suffer. But returning to the Minister of Labor, when the trade unions criticized her and the government, the PNM government, on Labor Day for their failure to protect the working class, she said they were still holding consultations. Can you imagine that for the past 5 years, the Minister of Labor is still only holding consultations and not one piece of legislation has been brought to the Parliament in the interest of the working class? This, to me, sounds like a lot of squandermania on tea parties, breakfasts, seminars, and nobody is doing any work. Within 4 days of the first confirmed COVID-19 case, the Minister of Labor devoted an entire Sunday afternoon press conference explaining the availability of pandemic leave. Thereafter, nothing was done by the Minister of Labor and or the Minister of Finance to implement pandemic leave. Some 2 months later, the Prime Minister then announced that the government would no longer assist with this measure. What should we really make of this? It is either the government saw the necessity for pandemic leave at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, in which case they ought to have followed through with it, or they were merely politicking, in which case they broke their word to the citizenry. We sometimes refer to a drastic comparison by saying you're dealing with chalk and cheese. Well, in contrast to the PNM government's failed economic and labor policies, the Kamla Persad-Bissessar-led United National Congress settled over 143, not 43, 143 wage negotiations and collective agreements. In doing so, it paid out over $3 billion to workers during the period 2010 to 2015. As we treat with the PNM's insult to the working class, I want to talk a little bit about Attorney General Faris Alrawi. Sometimes, well, I don't know how to really speak of this character and what to make of him. But what I could tell you is the curtailed Senator Sean Sobers putting on he in San Fernando West. They say he walking around with a merino black vest and a pajama type looking pants, hustling people on the road looking for votes. So Senator Sean Sobers, go brave. After being criticized by the trade union movement for not taking steps to improve the industrial court, Faris, after all his performance craters for 5 years, said that he just wanted to get over the hump of election and then he would focus on the industrial court. So he is hopelessly and shamelessly waiting for another bite at the cherry. This is an insult to the working class people. The industrial court dispenses social justice. Whenever workers or employees are wronged or want redress on matters concerning their jobs, or whenever they are retrenched, Their only recourse is to seek relief before the industrial court. It is a critical institution. But this PNM government is not interested in the working class, so that they have neglected that court. Faris has essentially admitted that. Even the judges of the court are treated with disrespect. Why have you been appointing judges on 3-year contracts when the law provides and allows for 5 years? Why not give judges longer periods of employment so that they can hear and complete more matters and allow more workers to have their disputes ventilated? Why are you treating judges in this mediocre manner? It boils down again and again to disrespecting the working class and disrespecting the population. The court has existing infrastructure. Why did you choose to let it run down? The court has 4 courtrooms. It needs more. Well, I want to ask Faris tonight if he knows any landlord who have property to lease or rent. Why not lend us one Woodbrook Place? After all, is taxpayers paying $23 million for that? So can you imagine this brass-faced Faris? He coming now to tell you, vote him in again, and then he will do what he was supposed to do all along. What really has Faris been doing for the last 5 years? Faris and the PNM government have been busy peddling miscellaneous pieces of legislation to take away people's rights. Everything is a miscellaneous provisions bill. Under the Freedom of Information Act, ordinary citizens can access documents which will assist them in their day-to-day lives. They can access it within 1 month time. Faris tried to take away that. What is worse is that the PNM government has a continuing obsession on spying on your business. Centuries-old laws protecting your privacy, what we call common law rights, AG Faris wants to legislate to take them away. One example is the recent Interception of Communications Amendment Bill 2020, which provides for wiretapping citizens and accessing citizens' data stored at telecommunication providers. This kind of legislation encroaches on your fundamental constitutional rights, such as your right to privacy. Our MPs, our UNC MPs and senators have comprehensively debated these matters on your behalf in the parliament, so I don't want to go there tonight. The point I want you to understand tonight is that this piece of legislation required a majority support in the Houses of Parliament. When AG Faris did not get the required majority of the parliamentary houses to support him, he then claimed that he had legal opinions to say that the bill could be passed with a simple majority and proceeded to pass the bill on that basis. We are yet to see those legal opinions. Well, Faris, this sounding like, and I hope Senator Saddam Hussein, where he is on this virtual conference, will hear this. This sounds like the typical example, dog bite up your homework excuse. How could an attorney general, the guardian of the rights of citizens, come to the parliament and pass laws which impact on fundamental human rights with a simple majority? Any law student who has spent an ordinary amount of time achieving their legal qualifications will tell you that this cannot be done. So, Faris is passing bad law, but more importantly, he and the government are showing clear signs of breaching the rule of law and a non-commitment to citizens' constitutional, fundamental, and human rights. Just prior to coming to this virtual hearing, I was reading a letter from the Assembly of Southern Lawyers where they wrote to Faris talking and commenting on the miscellaneous provisions, Registrar General, Registration of Deeds, Conveyancing of Law and Property Act, etc., etc. One long, unholy title. Faris trying to pass this in the parliament. Do you know what is the ground of complaint in that? That he is upsetting settled principles of jurisprudence and practice in conveyancing, and he is doing this without consultation. So you have one, the Minister of Labor, who only holding consultations and not bringing any law, and you have Faris Al-Rawi, who only want to bring bad law but not holding any consultations. I will seek to unveil more during the ongoing campaigning. In conclusion, I say particularly to the constituents of Chaguanas West that I, following in the footsteps of our political leader, will listen to all of you, hear your concerns, and consult with you as we move forward. Together we will aspire, together we will achieve. Now is the time to stand up and speak out. Now is the time to say no to the PNM. Now is the time to embrace the UNC tighter than ever before. Now is the time to answer the call of our political leader, Kamla Persad Bissessa. Now is the time to save Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
Father God, it's me, your son again.
This is the virtual campaign. On the ballot. Why wait? The time is now.
Go this side, Father God, I make them fight me so hard. I look at things to me.
This is the virtual campaign. On the ballot now. The UNC candidate for the constituency of Barataria San Juan, Senator Saddam Hussein.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening, especially to the wonderful, lovely, energetic, warm, caring people of the constituency of Barataria San Juan. Tonight, I want to say thank you. Tonight, I owe a great debt of gratitude to the political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa, the screening committee of the United National Congress, and also the current MP, Dr. Fuad Khan, for giving me the encouragement and the support to ensure that the seat of the constituency of Barataria San Juan remains in the folds of the United National Congress. Barataria San Juan is UNC and it will remain UNC. Just yesterday, I was able to start my walkabouts, and I must say that the outpouring of love that I received from the people has touched my heart very dearly. So I have decided to base my campaign in that constituency on love. That this election, that this general election of 2020 is not about only winning votes, but it is about winning the hearts, winning the minds of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and the hearts and the minds of the people of Barataria San Juan. And that constituency represents a microcosm. It represents what Trinidad and Tobago really is. It may be a very small geographical area in comparison to the other constituencies, but it is one of the most diverse constituencies. It represents, as I said, what is Trinidad and Tobago, what is unity. And today, politics, as we know, is a very hard game, but it should not be a dirty game. Politics is about issues. Politics in this country, we should elect a party, we should elect a government that cares for the people, that delivers for the people, and that performs for the people. Not a government that causes loss of jobs. Not a government that shuts down one of the biggest employers of this country. Not a government that engages in wild, corrupt spending, and not a government that favors their own ministers. We must elect a government that cares for the people. Elect a government that is telling the people that we will create 50,000 new jobs, sustainable jobs, so that you can have a better standard of living. I took the decision 3 years ago to enter into politics. And I joined politics to ensure that young people have a voice, to ensure that young people are at the decision-making table, so that we can represent our demographic, so that we can represent our age group, so that politics will be relevant to the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. I pledge to ensure that as your next member of parliament for the constituency of Barataria San Juan, I will represent you to the best of my abilities. I will ensure that you have proper amenities and a good standard of living. The people of this country are crying out for jobs. They are crying out to be safe. and a UNC government will deliver that to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I am proud to be a part of the new generation of leaders. I am inspired by the vision of the political leader and the party to adopt for the next general election to usher in the next generation of leaders, especially in the context of the realities created by COVID-19 and the need it has created to apply our collective intelligence to mitigate the challenges in the future. In this regard, there are those who would agree that experience will be required in our situation, and this is not the time to experiment. But I beg to differ. We can do the job. Our leader has already set in motion teams which we had to develop constituency developmental plans, which I and my colleagues will share with you. We have begun to prepare ourselves for the task of governance, which our leader has made clear will be based on a philosophy of shared governance. The role of a minister is to coordinate the talents and human resources at the ministry in envisioning and implementation of policies and programs that will result in both a better standard of life and a better standard of living. When you examine my track record and that of my colleagues, you will see that we possess a judicious mix of academics, applied skills, energetic enthusiasm. Our involvement in and in the representation of people over the years has given us the emotional balance which we require to be problem solvers. This is the kind of expertise that we will bring into the space in which the public servants and other experts will find respect, participate more freely, openly in the building of new society and supporting structures around our economic transformation master plan. Our people have suffered long enough for basic needs. The experience that is now required is our ability to identify with the needs of our people and their aspirations, to identify with the challenges that communities face, and above all, to understand and empathize with the conscience of the nation. We can do it. Our party is preparing us for the task of leadership and initiating change. I am convinced that we shall prosper, for we will be motivated by the core philosophy of service, which is the primary maxim of the United National Congress. Experience is the application of our personal, but more so our collective intelligence. This is the way we can move Trinidad and Tobago forward. We are ready. The politics of sacrifice shall guide us to the higher levels of service, and our nation will prosper with this generation of leaders. God bless our leader for her vision, her magnanimity, and her love for Trinidad and Tobago. I have proven that I have the competence and the experience. After 3 years of being appointed as a senator in the parliament, I have debated on over 65 bills in the parliament. I have sat on several very important joint select committees, including the Joint Select Committee on National Security, on special select committees. This election is not about going in front of a television and reading storybooks. This is about discussing real issues because people matter. This elections is not about inexperience. This experience is about competent young people to be a voice. This election is not about what the PNM does, put senators on the backbench to stay quiet. Because myself, Senator Haynes, Senator Sobers, and Senator Obika, we stand for the people in the Senate. We are the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we will continue to fight for you. And I want to let the PNM know that although they have put up a road march king against me, I will be the next road march monarch of Barataria San Juan. Thank you very much.
Father God, it's me again. Father God, it's me, your son again.
She has two distinct values that stand out: perseverance and hard work. A woman in the right place at the right time. On the ballot now, UNC Deputy Political Leader and Coordinator for La Horquetta Talparo, Jolene John.
No make the hope you work and them get no reward. No.
Good evening to the viewing public. Welcome to the UNC Virtual Political Platform. I make reference tonight to a young man named David Malone Hughes, whom I've come across during one of my many walkabouts. David had been very vocal in his advocacy for youths in the Wallafield area. So during my presentation at a Monday night forum held in Brazil, February of last year, I saw David standing at the front of the audience and called him to come on stage and tell Trinidad and Tobago what he has been telling us. David that night said that the youths were crying out for change and are willing to work hard. David said there are many who were overqualified and educated and yet are still unemployed and therefore in dire need of guidance and support. David said the youths were seeking opportunities. The very next day, the Minister of National Security, Mr. Young, held a press conference and with files in hand told Trinidad and Tobago David had a long rap sheet and proceeded to read out what was in that file. The Prime Minister also weighed in. That same day saying David had a rap sheet as long as his arm. Quote, "You see, Rowley knows who is a criminal and pest as long as it is Young and black. But he and Young knew nothing about Delcy Rodriguez's business." Young at his press conference said, "I, as in me here, was converting with criminal elements to gain political ground. You see, when David of Wallafield asked for an opportunity, Young pulled his file and told Trinidad and Tobago he was a criminal. He went further and said inter alia that Jolene John seemed to have taken on a disturbing mandate to do certain work in the East-West corridor. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a direct quote. Young found that by trying to assist the poor, the downtrodden, the outcasts, those whom had voted overwhelmingly to secure him high office was a disturbing mandate. If telling youths the only way out of poverty is through education, training, and discipline is wrong, then I don't want to be right. If encouraging young people to keep hope alive, to do the right thing, and that nothing is wrong with having big dreams, and to go as far as your ambition and determination will take you. If that is wrong, Stuart Young, I don't want to be right. David of Moonan Road, Wallafield, asked for an opportunity, and Young believed instead David should be publicly shamed, embarrassed, and ridiculed. Stuart's brother Angus was in the media recently, attempting to explain his sudden run of luck. He's a better investor than Warren Buffett. It could be, because I had to speculate now, that he benefited from a good old Tobago bush bat. And I jealous, because I'm Tobagonian after all. By way of explanation, he told us he bright, he wife bright, and she's a rock star. I actually read that somewhere, you can't make this stuff up. But during one of my walks in Jacob Hill, Wallafield, I met Colleen. She's 38 years old and she has 8 children. I asked her, girl, how are you managing? She said, I go to work every single day. I get up and go to work. Work starts for me at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I return home by 6:30 to look after the children and send them to school. Colleen of Jacob Hill, you rock for me. Last Sunday, I met a gentleman by the name of, from La Horquetta, that is. He said his name was Paiman. Paiman told me that earlier in that week, a lady had begged him asked him for a pie, which he gave to her. He said as he was driving off, he decided to look into his rearview mirror. And there he saw this lady with all her children standing in a line, 13 of them. And she was moving the pie across, giving every one of the children a bite of the pie. So Pieman reversed, gave every child a pie and some juice. And there he was thinking his wife will kill him because he'll bring home short money. But Pieman said, Mother Teresa said, not all of us can be great. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. Mr. and Mrs. Pieman, you rock. You are my rock stars. Carrie from La Horquetta, phase 4, told me the doctors had deemed her medically unfit. She said she cannot work. She said, Miss Jolene, right now I hold on 3 jobs. She cannot deem medically unfit. I hold on 3 jobs. Because you see them 2 boys right there? One has sickle cell. They are my everything. But I hold on them 3 jobs to ensure that these boys will do better than I did. Carrie, girl, you keep defying the odds. You are my rock star. And then there's a woman I know. Her name is Vida John, who played a key role in sending me to school. My uniform was a white shirt and a brown skirt. Vida could only have afforded one white shirt at the time. So every day she'll wash that, every afternoon she'll wash the shirt and iron it on mornings for me to look neat at school. And then the color of the shirt became frayed, so she turned it around. And then that became frayed. And Vida took her one white Sunday dress and ripped the skirt and made me a brand new shirt to go to school. Vida, my loving mother, you are my rock star. You rock. We meet so many people every day, heroes helping each other, not because they have so much, but because, as Martin Luther King said, you only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Kamla Prasad Bisesa did not create the Children Life Fund and paid contribution out of her own pocket from a salary because she had nothing to do with money. It was because she believed every sick child from Trinidad and Tobago must have access to the best medical care. She built hospitals and health centers because she was sick and tired of seeing old people dying in the corridors of the hospital where we were waiting for over 48 hours to get a bed. She mandated, one day we were touring an admin building adjacent to the San Fernando General Hospital. And she looked at me, she said, yes, you Jillian. And when she calls me Jillian, it's a sign. She said, I want this converted into a hospital, and in 18 months. Now we are taking an admin building and converting to a hospital. The codes are different. But in 18 months, we delivered a 216-bed hospital tower into San Fernando. On the then Prime Minister's vision, we designed, mobilized, and completed the Cougar Children Hospital, which, you know, it took a pandemic for Rowley and Yelsing to open. We mobilized the construction of a Rima Hospital and Point Fortin Hospital. And I played a pivotal role in that under the direction of the then Minister of Housing, Dr. Munilal, and of course our Prime Minister. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa instructed me to design a program for persons who are resident in tenanted HCC communities for over 30 years, that they can buy their houses for $100. These are people who live on Duncan Street, George Street, Methuen Street, Pleasantville, Prince Street, Lisa's Gardens. It's not because those persons in the main supported her politically. It is because she believes Trinidad and Tobago belongs to all of us, and everyone deserves a place to call home. The laptop for every child entering secondary school was implemented by a visionary Prime Minister. No one contemplated a world with COVID, but when you do things for the right reasons, and when it is based on principle, it was based on the principle that every child, no matter their circumstances, must have access to a computer. Incidentally, that would have solved the issues of children being out of school right now for the Easter and August terms. So, Rowley don't have the people who put him in office to study, especially since his enablers are assuring him he did so well with COVID. And they're telling him he's on a fast track to general election victory. So he's on television every day, like if he's Denzel Washington, preening and complimenting himself. But I have a message for Rowley tonight, because Mujahid from Exora, Jacob Hill, has 10 children. 8 are his, 2 are his wife, brother, and sister because the mother died. They have been waiting for assistance with building material, and a hamper will also help. Unlike you, sir, COVID wasn't good for them. Kurt of Gladiolus Crescent in La Horquetta need a hamper and other assistance for his special need child. Somehow the COVID 21 billion gravy chain didn't pass by his yard. Mr. Simon of Phase 2, of Phase 3 La Horquetta is a stroke victim. He lives alone and is in need of a hamper and personal care. COVID has not done any good for him. Young Ronaldo from Tudge Road, born with cerebral, ran out of food because his father couldn't work due to the COVID shutdown. He's still awaiting his celebratory COVID hamper from your government. The Prime Minister needs to stop caring about how he looks on television, because COVID come, COVID goes, these people suffering under your government. As a matter of fact, I am hearing persistently and consistently, they are saying that the real pandemic is Rowley. This is my promise to you. A KPB government will re-establish the Ministry of the People, just as she had done before. This will ensure that our citizens will not feel that they have to go through the day-to-day challenges alone. A KPB government will do everything it can to ease the pressures and burdens of the pandemic. After all, we are in this together. So UNC continue to work hard and serve the people, as our leader exhorts us to do. Don't let your feet leave the ground. Do not let the noise and old talk get to you. Your UNC campaign is on solid ground. led by the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Our campaign is grounded by one of the most formidable, hard-working, humble team ever assembled in Trinidad and Tobago politics. Just keep the faith with Sean Sobers in San Fernando West. Keep the faith with the very strategic Michelle Benjamin in Moruga Tableland, the brilliant Senator Saddam Hussein in Sawa Barataria. The hunt is on with Aloy Hunt in St. Joseph, David Naked, the People's Warrior in Tunapuna, Nabila Green in Toko Sandy Grande. They will not let you down. I know you're holding strain for an announcement from the Horquetta Talparo, but rest assured, the war room will come through for you. We will not fail you. We are going to beat them in the north, we're going to beat them in the south, we're going to beat them in the west, and I know for sure that the corridor tumbling down for the UNC. Without fear of contradiction, we are going to win this next election. So people keep the faith in Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Just keep the faith and keep hope alive. Thank you.
She continues to raise the hard questions that strike right at the heart of our nation. Her legal background stands as a defense for social justice and equality for all. She exuberates statesmanship, ambition, and a passion for progress. In these tough times, some are called to meet the share of our nation's challenges. Each time she is called, she discharges her duties with dignity and determination. Live from the United National Congress social space, on the ballot now, Senior Counsel, former Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition, Kamala Prasad Bisesa.
Thank you very much. As I put on my Facebook page every morning, I say, hello everyone. I say good evening to you and thank you all for joining us again in this very modern way of communicating through this virtual campaign. We are in the new normal, and the new normal means the UNC is going to win the next election. We shall form the government, but we can only do it if we work together. And we have to work together because our country is at stake. The lives of our children are at stake. We have heard the speakers before me. They've been on the ground in the communities, and we've listened to them. But they have been listening to you on the ground, and that's where we will be, not in the air. Our campaign is a ground campaign, and I ask you to join all our candidates, and I will speak a little more about them in a little while. So here we are now, adjusting to the new normal, and the problem has not been COVID-19. I think Shirley was right when she said the problem is Rowley. Rowley is COVID 2020. And therefore, in this year, we have to eradicate Rowley and the PNM. Jillian tells me, she's on the corridor. David Naked is on the corridor. Saddam is on the corridor. And others are on the corridor. And Dinesh has joined us now in Central. So we have a mix of candidates, and I know some of you are not very happy with the changes, but a change is going to come, and we are that change. The UNC is the change. I'll speak more on that a little later. So here it is now. Rowley's patting himself on the back. I wonder if he remembers the saying that self-praise is no praise. They're patting themselves and say, oh, great job, and yet there are thousands of people in this country, as other speakers have told you, and you go on the ground, you'll find out who have not yet got a grant. They have not yet got a hamper. They have not got the salary relief. They've got nothing. So for every one that you cheat and give, there are thousands you have not helped. Where's the salary relief grant? Has anybody got that yet? Where's the small business grant? Has anybody got that yet? Billions of dollars being spent. Billions. And there's so much suffering in this country. And they're praising themselves, man. Good job, great job. The best job you can do is to resign and get out of office now. That's the best job you can do. And so, as we go ahead, the reality is that people are facing tremendous hardship. I saw David Naked up in Tunapuna there, garbage. Imagine a thing like garbage. Look, I like Esmond Ford, you know. But sorry, Mr. Ford, you are no match whatsoever for David Naked. I saw him on the ground. I've seen Dinesh, I've seen Sadat, I see Michelle down there, I see Sean. Where are they? They're up in the air. They're up in the air and they have no touch, they have no reality, they have no heart. They have no feeling for people, man. Look, I saw a child. I'm a mother. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. That child comes out of our gut, out of our belly to see a 2-year-old child gunned down. What are you doing about crime? You promised in 2015, lied to people, fooled people. You cannot fool them this time. You have had almost 5 years. And now over 2,000 persons have been murdered since you came in office. Since I last spoke to you, over 32 people have been murdered, you know. Last time we spoke, 32 people. You think we are forgetting? You're in COVID crisis every day on the TV, every day on the radio, in people's faces, in their homes, through that screen. But you cannot give them the comfort of safety and security. And so where is the murder toll? I think it's over 228 now. 228. We are in the 6th month of the year. Where are you heading? Over 2,379 persons have been murdered on their watch, Keith Rowley. And what can you say? You know, I listened to the Archbishop recently when he said, and I quote from him, "What kind of nation has Trinidad and Tobago become?" When a 2-year-old child? Not a word from the Prime Minister. Of course, you're a father, as mothers we know there is no greater pain than seeing your child in pain, seeing your child murdered. For a mother and a grandmother, and even for a father and a grandfather, that hurts me. That really, really hurts me. Jurgen mentioned about the Minister of the People and so on, but listen, the Children's Life Fund, it has become, I don't know where, that was the first cabinet note when I went, cabinet note number 1 of 2010 when I formed the government. That was the first thing I did to pass the policy to create the legislation for the Children's Life Fund. I see Anna Roberts somewhere in the back there. I see expose them, parafuel, more to come. Ms. Delcy, more to come. We have all the documents. You have lied and cheated the people of Trinidad and Tobago of their own money. You sold that fuel for less than what you paid for it. Why did you do that? Why did Delcy come in this country? Why did you open the borders and within 1 day, gas sell, boy? What is your friendship? Well, somebody is coming for you, you know, Uncle Sam is watching you, you know. They are watching you. And if any sanctions are to come, they will not come on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They will come on those officials who were in charge of what was happening. So I talk with you, a common thread you will find. We talk about crime and security. I talk about splitting that ministry into 2 ministries. A Ministry of Home Affairs and, of course, the other ministry that will help us. So 2 ministries. Because crime and security, you have to be alive first to enjoy everything else. So safety and security, you have failed. You have miserably failed. We have plans for that. Yes, we were there, and I want to remind you, people forget, under my government, we brought serious crimes down to the lowest ever in 31 years. The lowest ever in 31 years. Under your watch, serious crimes again, skyrocketing. So you make a silly comment about, oh, well, we are decreasing the rate of increase. What does that mean? When over 2,000 people have died under your watch. When the murder rate is where it is today. Since I last spoke, as I said, 30-something people have died, have been murdered. And not a word. Prime Minister doesn't speak about that, you know. He says, oh, great job, Rowley, great job, keep, man, you're doing great on COVID, whilst people are suffering in this country. It pains me. It pains me, and we will work to get TNT working again, to improve the quality of lives of all our citizens, and don't call no dog whistle for us. Don't spread that. Look at my team of candidates. You will see a diversity that is Trinidad and Tobago. So How will we deal with this crime? I talked about the ministries. I will talk to you another day on what I want to do with law and order, because I also want to divvy up those ministries. I want to restructure law and order. We have a ministry, the AG, well, the $23 million man, running everything, and it's not working. We will recreate the Ministry of Justice. We will have a Ministry of Legal Affairs that will take care of everything happening at the company's registry, the lands registry, and so on, the civil registries, all of those. So more work can get done, because that's in a total lockjam. You passed a law, I think they spoke about it, the miscellaneous provisions law. All these things you're passing, you're not going to get to implement them, you know, because we will repeal them. Once we form the government, they will be gone, just as we repeal the property tax legislation. So I want to say that we will restructure law and order, the administration of law and order, into a Ministry of Legal Affairs, the Ministry of the Attorney General, and a Ministry of Justice. You cannot have the Attorney General, who is the titular head of the bar, also liaising with the judiciary. No, justice should stand on its own so that their independence will be guaranteed. A Ministry of Justice will take care of the judiciary, the magistracy, and so on. A Ministry of Legal Affairs, I mentioned just now, to deal with all the registries that form companies, civil registry, yes, intellectual property registry. All those should be on their own. That's a lot of work. There are thousands and thousands of registrations. I heard the Prime Minister say recently, he wants people to get a personal identification, special card, and so on. Mr. Rowley, we left that in train in the Ministry of Legal Affairs. We left it done, almost completed. You stopped it for 5 years, and you now see the brilliant idea that was, that everybody should have a personal identification number. And on that, you will be able to pick up all the things that you need. We had the health card in train, where you can put that health card in, and right away they can know your history. You go to a doctor, you go to the hospital, you go to the emergency clinics, you can pick up all the medical data that you need on the person. All that was in train. What did you do? You stopped it. Why? Blame Kamala. Because it allows you to blame Kamala. That's all you've done. Blame Kamala, blame the UNC. Well, today I say blame yourself for the state of this country. Blame yourself for where we are now and the suffering that people are facing. So, yes, we'll deal with crime. We'll deal with administration and the ministries. I'll give you more details as we go along. But we will also have to look at the root causes of crime. People don't just commit crime because they're just bad. They don't. There are reasons. We have to find what are the root causes, and that's where we were. You have to get people education. You have to train them. You've shut down all the NASC, all the classes that we had, all the things in every community. We had projects. I saw Tahaka on TV recently talking about in Point 14. They shut down all the training facilities. We had so many of those things where, well, you may go to university, you may not go to university, but you have training. Because you have to have a skill in order to get a job, in order to contribute, in order to earn a living, to take care of yourself and your family. Education is the passport out of poverty. Education is the key to a better way of life. I want to tell you, I grew up, I spent some time over the past couple of days meeting with several people, and they explained to me what it is for a normal person growing up here. And they say, well, they look at me and they say, oh, you have a nice house and you have a car and you have a job, whatever. And I told them I grew up as a very poor person. I walked to school without shoes. I share that with you. And when we were children, my father married my mother, and his family did not agree that he should marry a mother because, you know, in the caste system of those old families, that she was not of the same caste as him. He was a Brahmin Hindu priest and so on. And she was not. And his family alienated him. And we as children, 6 of us, we moved from house to house to house. I know what it is. I feel that pain. And therefore, the failed housing policy of this Rowley government, we have to address it. What does every person want? First, 2 things. What they told me is no longer just a house now, they want a car. The first thing that a person they get a job, they want a car. Why? Because the public transport system is so bad. Everybody wants a car in order to get about and move about themselves and or their family. But then when they get that car, they mortgage themselves for 7 years to pay for that car. And then now, time to get rid of that car, you go for the next 7 years. So you can't even think about a house. I'll come back to the housing, you know. This is what they were explaining to me. I said, but why is that? And it's because, they told Mr. Pandey, great soul, he had started, I was in his government, he had started the foreign used cars so that people could get a good car at a reduced price. So it wasn't like a man could buy a car, new car, big time car and so on. Everybody could get a foreign used, those who couldn't afford the new cars. But you know what's the problem now, they told me? The taxes. Is it taxes? And so we will have to reconsider. I haven't done all the arithmetic yet, all the maths. We have to reconsider taxes being put and the shutdown of the foreign use. You know, you could go everywhere and get a foreign use, any part of the country. You could go and buy the parts. People had businesses doing foreign use, businesses selling the parts for these foreign use cars. But what happened? They shut it down, closed it down. So why? Just a big business will survive. I will not say 1%, because we are all 100% in this country. Everybody's a citizen. Everyone is entitled to earn a living. But you see, the ordinary man, he must be able, when he gets a job, to be able to afford a car for himself and his family. Do you understand? So we will reconsider the whole taxation system and look again at the issue of the foreign used. You know how many people I know bought foreign used cars? When I came back to Trinidad, I couldn't even get a car to buy, because you had to go to these big car firms and you had to line up and stay in a line. People had to pay bribe to get a car. Some of you may be too young to know about that. You couldn't even buy a car. It was under Pandey and the UNC government. We opened up the foreign use market. I don't know why it was shut down, and we are back in the hands of the few big companies. So that's something they talked to me about, and I come back to the house now. What is the cost of a home? What is the cost of a piece of land? I talked to you, I told you, we move house to house. Usha, you know that, we used to move house to house to house, from Quarry Village down Quarry, Saparia, going further down, into Saparia, all around. Saparia, Penal, but mainly Saparia. House to house. Doing what? Renting. Renting. You know what survived and rescued me? Was education. So I'm going off on different tangents. I'm talking about cars. I'm talking about housing. How did I survive? Because of education. And the UNC government will heavily invest in education again. We built over 106 schools. I saw a kid walking by a school, abandoned. In every area, every constituency, I want you guys to go and take the pictures of the schools. They have just let grass and vine grow on it. Everywhere in this country. 106 schools. The Prime Minister say, I want you to go and ask media. Please ask Mrs. Prasad Bisasa, where are these 106 schools? Well, you know what? We showed them. We took pictures of every one of them. Tim called the names in the parliament of the schools, and we showed pictures of everyone. Go up on the Facebook and you will see it. But they abandoned a lot of these schools. You know, when I went to the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, they praised Trinidad and Tobago because we were one of the few countries that had fulfilled the goals, the SDG goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, with respect to education. Because we had free secondary education, thanks to me and Mr. Pandey in the first government of the UNC, that we created space for all. Not one child must be left behind. Secondary school, primary school. And then you know what we did? What we got the praise for then was the early childhood education centers. Because we said every child deserves that right to get an education from 3 to 5. You'll have free preschool. What has happened to that? They abandoned the schools. They're all over the country. We will get those schools going again. So don't come and cry about crime and bad people and who good and who bad. Everyone deserves a chance to improve the quality of their lives. And I had that chance. I thank my parents for that. I had to leave Trinidad. I went and worked as a waitress in London. You know why? For that education. Okay? And I've been blessed with that education. That is where I am today and who I am today. But I came from amongst you, from the poorest of the poor. The poorest of the poor. I remember my parents building a little shack. It was like a 10 by 10. 6 children and all, 10 by 10. With a little piece of galvanized, and the family came and helped them put the galvanized. And, I look back on those, they were fun memories too, because when you are small like that, you don't understand what is happening. You're just happy everybody's around you. Built this house, a shack, a 10 by 10 for 6 children, and had a little patio out front, but it's not a patio, just a little gallery, whatever is the word. So we would all be there, we'd all play there. We had one tap out in the yard every morning when we wake up. You talk about sunlight. Sunlight is great. We are so blessed. The climate we have is one of the best in the world. And I repeat again, sunlight will kill COVID-19 and will kill Rowley 2020. Sunlight. In the morning when we wake up, we just go and sit by that tap, sunning out. A doctor told me the other day, when you have a little child, and you see child getting a little yellow and thing, jaundice. The old people used to call it jaundice or something. What you do is put the child in the sun. Look, all the reports and studies coming out now, they're telling us this sunlight is the best thing to fight the COVID. The best. So I'm straying. So I talked about the education. We will reinvest. We will put back the laptop program. How short-sighted you were. Had no vision. You don't understand we live in a computer literate world. You don't understand the industrial revolution we're going through now. This 4th revolution. It's not about, remember the days when it was coal? Coal. That was the energy. Coal. We move from that, we move, we come into gas and oil and so on. But the 4th industrial revolution is something that is so mind-boggling. And that is where the laptops fit in. We started that program. In this COVID lockdown now, every child would have had that laptop in their home, and the rest of them in that home would have access to it. So not just a child with a laptop, but the whole family. And now you can't go to school. What would have happened? We will reintroduce the laptop program. We will do it. You spend $23 million on rent for Paris. You know how many laptops you could have bought, or tablets? We're moving into the tablets. My plan then was laptops in the secondary. We're moving to the tablets for the primary schools. That's where we have to go. So education, I'm saying, we will heavily invest in education. That is the passport. It is the key out of poverty and to improve the quality of the life of yourself and for your family. If you don't have an education, what will you do? I make again, it's not just a university education. And by the way, we had set targets for university, tertiary education, and we surpassed our own targets, 60%. We had set a target less than that, but we did more than that. What have you done with the gate? You're giving a man $23 million and more, and you shut down the gate. How you want children to go to university? You shut down the NSC, shut down all those centers that we had for training. We were training people. We said, listen, we will give you certification. If you're a hairdresser, a plumber, a carpenter, a mason, we had set up accreditation centers. You will go, they will assess you and give you a certificate. Because you know people want to see certificate, paper, that you are certified to do what you say you can do. Shut down all of that. So it wasn't just about academic education that we were on about. We're about skills because we need skilled people. I think sometimes some of the skilled persons make more money than somebody with a university degree. In fact, the university degree people can't even get jobs. What about the doctors, the 600 doctors? You can't hire them, but you have a whole hospital. You made it into the disaster zone, that Coover Hospital. I talk about the Life Fund, we'll revamp the Life Fund. We can't have our children dying because you cannot provide the service. That's what that hospital was for. For the mothers, we had a women's section of it, we had for men, and for the children. You never opened it in 5 years. It took COVID for you to make it into a center. All these years, children seeking Life Fund help, you will not give them. I went to court about it for 2 children that they refused to give it. We will change the legislation to ensure that these children can access the Life Fund. Okay? So it's about our children. It's about our future. That is where my heart is. For myself, there's very little I want anymore. I don't eat very much anymore. You know, as you get older, you can't eat as much as you used to. How much food can you eat? How much can you buy? How much clothing can you have? When it is our children. Look, I see, I just saw, no, that's not a child, a 29-year-old, I saw it. Someone has put out a help, asking for help with this person with whatever they're suffering, some type of cancer, 29-year-old boy, man, you know, seeking help. Where is our health care? That Couva hospital was for the children, the women, and the men. But you know what it was also for? They say, well, I did not diversify. That hospital was to create medical tourism. Because from the Caribbean, right here, right in the Caribbean, all the CARICOM nations, instead of going to the US or Canada, some go to Venezuela, used to go, they could come to Trinidad and Tobago. That hospital is a state of the art with all the equipment in it. That's what we were planning for medical tourism and sports tourism. That was part of our plan. That is why we built the velodrome, we built the aquatic center. A fellow named Anna Roberts, by the way, built all these things and more for sports tourism. So we will get Forex, money will come in. Yes? Create jobs. That Couva hospital, I keep talking about it, that hospital was to create the jobs for medical care professionals, for doctors, for the persons who will work, you know, the assistants and so on, not just medical. Thousands of jobs would have been created right there. And they didn't have to come from Couva. Those jobs would be from everywhere. That's why I put a hospital in Central, because everyone can access it. So, healthcare, education I've spoken about, crime I've spoken about, and now I want to speak about something else. We did so much, I think. I don't know, sometimes I forget, people remind me. So housing, yes, because you want a car and you want a house. Now historically, because of what happened with the persons who came here, the foreigners, the British and so on, and we were a colony, and the way that developed, and the slavery and the indentureship. There are people in this country, and some may not be happy with me saying it, but because of that history, the historic discrimination that took place in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lot of people descended from African slaves who never had the chance to get a piece of land. Never. The indentured servants who came from India, they had the choice at the end of indentureship, look, you could stay, I'll give you some land, or you could go home. Many chose to stay. I thank God my family stayed. I am very happy in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm proud to be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And so historically they have been discriminated against, so they have a serious problem. Because yes, you want a house, but first you have to get a piece of land with the house. HDC houses are going to cost. A normal person cannot afford that. The ordinary citizen in this country cannot afford even the HDC homes. And what you are doing, you're destroying the middle class and the working classes of this country. I will reintroduce a revamped Land for the Landless program. That's the program we had. Land for the landless. So that we can give to our citizens, and therefore they can help themselves. And you're not giving them a hand down, you're giving them a hand up. Hand up. So those are some of the things that we are looking at in addition to our economic transformation plan. When you walk on the ground or you meet people, two things people tell you all the time. They want to feel safe and they want a job. People don't want handout only, they want jobs. People want jobs, sustainable jobs. And they want to feel safe. So under this government, long before COVID, this country was into a recession, a serious recession and depression. 5 years of no growth. Specific plan to say, I will do 1, I will do 2, I will do 3. It is just a rhetoric. And we've had that forever, all the years. And then the Minister of Finance came to Parliament 2 weeks ago and he said, we are in a good place. Can you believe the Minister of Finance comes to Parliament with a straight face as you could get? He says the country was in a good place. Well, I'm not sure where they're living. If they're living in Trinidad and Tobago, living in Middle Earth. Because they are totally out of touch with reality. We are in a deep economic crisis. A serious economic crisis. Their only plan is tax, 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 and Borrow, 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 and spend. How can we be in a good place when this government has borrowed over $5.4 billion in the last few months, pushing our debt to GDP ratio, GDP debt ratio to more than 70%. If you're into economics and so on, you know that's in the COVID zone. That is a really bad place to be. 70% GDP debt ratio. And you recall one of the first things this government did when they came into government in September 2015. The first thing they did when they came into parliament was to raise the debt ceiling. You know that, Saddam? Raise the debt ceiling, meaning they could borrow more. And they didn't stop there. They came back to parliament, they raised it a second time so they could borrow more again. Where are their revenue earning measures? Even in their roadmap, how are you going to make money? Prime Minister tells us, I remember saying, we are putting agriculture as a pillar of our economic plan. The Prime Minister said, hello, we don't have enough land. Now I am telling people in Tobago, plant your own food. I see him planting some lettuce and things. After I put up my video, my nice tomatoes and so on, he put up a video with some lettuce. And I don't even, who grew it? But he showed it. All right, where's a good place to be, really? But you tell the country when we talked about agriculture, you have reduced the budget to agriculture each year in the budget to kill agriculture. And here you are now. Finally, you think, you say, agriculture, yes, right. Lip service. We have specific plans. I ask you to go to our plan, I think it's up here, UNC plan2020.com. An entire economic transformation plan. And there now, you can see specifics. We have identified targets. We're not just saying agriculture. We have identified the targets we have to meet. That's what the plan is. You must have what you will do here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with specific targets so you know if you've met your target. And so, debt. Public borrowing, our public debt, you know what it is today? $125 billion. That's what we owe. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. $125 billion. This is the highest it's ever been. Just 5 years, just under 5 years. Highest in our country's history. And we are earning less revenue. Do you know he has borrowed over $45 billion since he came into government? And just a week ago, or this week maybe, the minister is boasting how he saved money. He borrows $500 million US dollars and he says he's saving money. So he's placed us in a $500 million more, which is 3.5 billion TT dollars about. And he say, wow, we save money, boys. We had a bond. We had a bond that it was a 20-year bond. And the bond matured and had to be paid. But only 250 million US to be paid. So he borrows 500 US millions. He says it's for paying off that first debt. But then what's the other 250 for? COVID-19. How much money is spending on COVID-19 and our citizens are still not benefiting? He's boasting he saved us money by borrowing another putting us in debt. Us, we will have to pay the taxpayers 500 million euros, over 3-point-something billion TT dollars. And he says he saves money. So that's what they are about. Debt, borrow, borrow, borrow. The business community have all been attacked. So it's blame Kamala, blame economists. Now it's blame anybody and everybody. Blame everybody. That is their strategy. Their strategy is just blame, the blame game. But it's catching up with them because people are saying, oh, well, wait now. When you point one finger, so it's for going backward, So blame them. So there we are. Before COVID-19, 60,000 people lost their jobs. I heard Dinesh, I think, tell us 100,000. I think it might be even more than that now. But remember last budget when I projected the figures based on data. The second thing is they hide the data. They no longer give you unemployment data. But there are ways to find out from the NIS people. So we had calculated 60,000, that was before COVID. Now with COVID, 100,000 and counting more. Before COVID, this government closed down Petrotrin. This is a prime minister who is on national TV. He says, listen, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. He says. And in case you were opening your fridge door, closing your fridge door, and you didn't hear me, I repeat, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. So who closed it down? Who closed it down? And all must go. Lies. They come out with their lies. How much more can you fool and thief from people, man? Lies. So, Dinesh mentioned it. Before COVID-19, they did not settle a single wage negotiation. He mentioned it. Under my watch, in only 5 years, we settled 143 wage negotiations. 143 wage negotiations. And so, they have not settled one. Before COVID-19, so many people were laid off. I told you that already. I estimate there were 60,000 now. It's far more than that. So that's where we are. Don't blame Kamala for that. Don't blame COVID for that. Don't blame the UNC for that. Blame Rowley 2020. That's where we're going. That's where we're heading. So we have our economic plan to transform Trinidad and Tobago, to get people working again, to create sustainable jobs. We have that plan. I said it's on the plan, uncplan2020.com. Let me share some of it with you. I've been doing it as we roll out. The economy is on the ballot, remember that. The economy, crime and security, and the economy. Those are two major issues on the ballot. I will add to that education and healthcare. Those are the issues on the ballot. When you go to vote, you have a choice. Those are the issues on the ballot. So our plan to transform Trinidad and Tobago. First of all, we do not believe you can tax a nation into prosperity. You cannot tax a nation into prosperity. So first, we believe that we must alleviate, we must lessen the tax burden on citizens. And right now I'm being told that the government is calling on these businesses to pay their taxes based on last year's earnings. Where are you living? 3 months country and shut down. Who making money? How can they pay tax based on last year's earnings? How unreal can you be? You want the money up front. That's what's going on. You want the money up front when these businesses would not have made that money. Small business, big business, all businesses. You cannot expect them to pay taxes at last year's rates because they have not made that money. You know that. You didn't even make it. The government didn't even get tax revenue like that. So why you want businesses to do that? That is totally unfair, and it's going to shut down the economy even more if you force these businesses to pay taxes based on last year's earnings. So we will first of all simplify the VAT regime. I did it once and I can do it again. We remove VAT of food. We remove it. The government came in and they said they're reducing VAT. But then they put the VAT on everything. So it was a fool again, it was a trick. It was a trick. But people bought the trick. I will remove, and a UNC government with me, we will remove the VAT on food items. You go and buy food now. Next day I'll have the data for you to show you how the cost of living has increased. Food prices have skyrocketed. And that's why we have to go into agriculture, by the way. One of the other reasons. We spend $6 billion a year in importing food. When we can grow here, we have a great climate. We can grow rice. We can grow sugarcane. We did it once. We can do it again. Part of my plan is to revitalize the sugar factory. So the small cane farmers, all who had their little piece of land, 1 lot, 2 lot, 3 lot, could plant back their cane and sell it. And you guess what? We don't have to import sugar from all over the world. We can make our own sugar. We can grow peppers. I'm growing pepper, but give them a little trouble. The leaves are a little, they're not looking so nice, the leaves. But they told me it's something called mites, so I have to get something to spray. Pepper. Pepper is one of the best-selling things in the world. Every pepper you plant here, you can export it. We will earn foreign exchange. Peppers. Simple thing like pepper. I was reading up on pepper and I wonder where this thing come from. Because everywhere you go in the world, You see a little bottle, one is salt and one is black pepper or white pepper. True or not true? Anywhere in the world. You know where that come from? India. But now others are growing. It comes from peppercorns. Everywhere else is growing. I'm told Korea or one of those other countries, they are exporting the most pepper. So we have things we can grow and things we can do to make money, to create jobs. And agriculture is not a dog's work. People feel it's bad. It's because we got the curse of oil. We got the curse of oil. And when we got the curse of oil, nobody want to work on the land anymore. And then, of course, they shut down the sugars and so on. So what's our plan? To diversify. My plan, as I say, is not in a revenue authority. We want to get more money, they say create a revenue authority, and the revenue authority will be at the behest and call of the persons there to be appointed by a minister of government. You can have a minister of government in that. You want a minister of government going to see your income tax and what's going on? No. So we will not support that revenue authority. Instead, we will increase the efficiency of customs and excise and the BIR. They're there. We can work with them. And that they are independent. So if anybody want to find out how much money you're making, he can't find out. That's your personal, private business. Why they want to get into that? Why do they want to get into all of that? And I'm telling them, some of those laws Faris has been passing, they're going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged. And miscellaneous provision, that has to be challenged. The interception of communication, what you want to bug everybody for? Why you want to listen to everybody's conversation? And you know what? In that law, it's not just to listen today, you know. They put it retroactive. So 20 years ago, you talk to your girlfriend on the phone and your wife find out it was 20 years ago. Okay, that is for you. I see your wife there. 10 years ago, you know what I mean? Why do you want those things? Law is always speaking to the future. You cannot criminalize something today that was not criminal yesterday. You cannot make an offense today for something that happened last year. You cannot create criminal offenses for the past actions. You cannot. So you're going to be challenged. But once we get in there, I am promising you, they cannot go into your phone records, into your emails, into your WhatsApp and so on. We are going to repeal that draconian dictatorship piece of legislation. We will repeal it. So here we go then. We plan to raise 4.5 to 7 billion in revenues per year by strengthening the BIR and customs. So it's not by taxing people every day, putting a new tax. I hear them talking about a luxury tax. What does that mean? What is a luxury tax? Are we going back to the negative list? Those of you old enough to remember what that was? Negative list means, well, you can't bring this camera. Who will determine what is luxury? What is a luxury tax? It's like the online tax they put on. People would shop online. You could get things so much cheaper. They put a tax on that. Anything and everything is the only way to raise revenue is taxes. Let me tell you how we will raise revenue. We will raise the revenue by diversifying the economy. It sounds like a bad word because Rowley feels it's a bad word, but it's not. It's diversify or die. Our oil and gas sector, we are producing the lowest amount of oil and gas now in our history. Production has fallen. Production has fallen. And so we have to look for other ways. We have sunlight. Back to sunlight. On sunlight. Why can we not have solar energy? We can produce. I remember as a student in Barbados at Cave Hill, I remember the entire building was an apartment building, was solar. Solar energy, and the water used to be really hot in the shower. Why can't we not use solar energy? We have natural sunlight. We have wind energy. We are so blessed with so many good things, but we don't utilize it. We don't use it. So let's go to diversification now. To drive this effort, I mentioned to you medical tourism. I mentioned to you sports tourism. Great things we can do right here. Here are our prosperity engines. One, agro-processing complex. So yes, we grow the food, but we process. The St. Madeleine sugar manufacturing facility, East-West Biotechnology Manufacturing Corridor, Sevilla Digital Innovation Park, Tamana Solar Tech Renewable Energy Park, West Port of Spain Creative Arts Street Area, East Port of Spain Steel Pan Manufacturing Facility. You know, I mentioned this in the Parliament, and a gentleman by the name of Hines, Fitzgerald Hines, when I talked about him, steel pan, he got up and he said, no, they already have a facility. It is so tiny. We talk about a worldwide exporting of steel pans. East Port of Spain Steel Pan Manufacturing Facility. Piarco Aircraft Maintenance Repair and Operations Hub. Cedrus Special Economic Zone. Point Galeota Energy Logistics Hub. Plymouth, not to forget our sister island, International Cruise Ship Marina Complex, and Tobago's first locally branded hotel. Every part. We will have these as prosperity drivers, engine drivers, to work into our plan. And in the first 90 days, we are ready to govern. We are ready to hit the ground. And for this, the plan we have in our first 90 days in office is as follows. 1, we have shown how the property tax legislation is flawed. We will repeal it. 2, we'll fix the broken sea and air bridge between our islands. We'll protect our farmers and fisherfolk by incorporating a squad into the TTPS, so our farmers and fishermen would no longer be told that they need to make a quiet request to the government for help. 4, we will settle all outstanding issues for ex-colony workers, ex-Petrotrin workers, and cane farmers. Within the first 3 months, we'll be able to benefit from the quality health care at the Couva Children's Hospital. And so that we feel safe again, we will resource the TTPS. We have a great commissioner of police, but we must resource them so that they can do their job better. 7, we will work with stakeholders to get the Petrotrin refinery working again. Now, I saw something someone said over the Labor Day time, that the UNC had their lawyers file an injunction, something to do with the Petrotrin closure and opening and the buying of the facility. I am not aware of any UNC filing an injunction to stop the union from being involved in taking over or purchasing the Petrotrin refinery. In fact, I had advised them that they should go to court to stop the closure. So I just want to clear that point on the Petrotrin. We will work with the stakeholders to get the refinery working again. We'll work with the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, and the CSO to find out what is the true state of our economy, the country's finances and capital projects. We will share that information with you all, with citizens. Unlike the statistics and all these con people are giving us now, no statistics. 9, we are committed to transparency, accountability, and good governance. We will proclaim the procurement legislation and provide the Office of the Procurement Regulator with its budgetary resources. We passed that law since before we left government in 2015. 5 years later, the Rowley regime buying planes all over the world, buying ships all over the world, buying all kinds of things, but they will not proclaim procurement legislation. This is very important for accountability and transparency in governance. Because you cannot have a Prime Minister and Minister Young, the young minister, flying off to Australia and buying boats. That can't happen. What was the procurement process? Where were the tenders? Look, even this Paria selling this fuel to Trafigura and Shell, or whoever they buy it from, Shell, and then they sell it to Trafigura. What? You can't have those things happening. You need procurement legislation for transparency and accountability. How did these people, what it is, US, SSS or whatever, how did they know that we had all these 200 barrels of oil to sell? How did they know? Did you advertise that? Or did Delcy come and tell you? How did they know to come and say, look, you have 200 barrels of gasoline here, fuel. I want to buy it. How did the world know? How did this company, where did they come from? Who called them? Was it Miss Delcy? And Delcy come and tell you? How did people know? And then when you sold it, you sold it for less than what you bought it for. I mean, something is so wrong. More to come on that, more to come on that. So it's in transparency, we have to proclaim the procurement legislation. And as time is running out, There are many others in our 90-day plan. We will prepare a divestment plan and debt workout strategy for non-strategic, loss-making state enterprises. We'll have to deal with that. We will scrap the Revenue Authority, I said it. We'll examine and address the issue of outstanding VAT refunds, which is crippling the business sector. We will prepare legislation to reduce personal income tax and reduce corporate taxes. I said you cannot tax a nation into prosperity. In the US, when Trump reduced the taxes there, what happened? Businesses from around the world, they started to come back home. And that's another thing. We had the highest level of foreign direct investment. You know, under this government, we have minus FDI. Minus, which means people are repatriating. Minus, you know. Each year, we have had no foreign direct investment. Under my government, we had the highest FDI. Now, we are into minus. How that could be right? So our tax levels, something is wrong with that. We have to take note of what's happening elsewhere. And oh gosh, man, reduce the taxes. If people have more disposable income, more business will take place, the economy will grow, will boom, people hire more people. But when you tax a man into poverty, then the economy will continue to collapse. We will begin drafting legislation to integrate the HSF into a new fiscal responsibility framework. So you'll have the heritage side of the fund and the stabilization fund. They promised that 5 years ago. Huh? They have not done it. The fund must be split into two. The heritage aspects, which you cannot touch, and the stabilization part, which you will be able to draw down in times of rainy times and need. I will share with you more of these plans that we have, but again, UNC plan 2020.com, and you'll get more of this. So I want to close here now by telling you, we have a choice as we go forward. But I also want to tell you, we have a deputy leader who has started a project, Project Hope, that is bringing so much hope to people up in La Horquetta Talparo. A dynamic and brilliant woman, and on top of that, a very beautiful person. I want to announce tonight, Jillian John is the UNC candidate for La Horquetta Talparo. Tonight, you've met some other new candidates, Dinesh Rambali, David Naked, Saddam Hussein, and we've already announced some other ones. So go brave, all of you, wherever you go. And do not lose faith. You know, I see people putting up things and camera bringing these new children and young people. The youth is our future. And so I am proud to be a leader, to bring into our party a new generation of leaders. The future of our country will be in peril unless we groom a new generation of leaders to meet the challenges that have now been defined as a new normal. Sustainable economies will not be built on the ideas of the past. The need for creativity, the need for competitive minds, the need for human energy to create our own global niche is especially important as our economic and financial dependence on oil and gas will be severely challenged. Our answer has to stay and be with our new generation. Our young people must not be left to stand on as onlookers. Our young people must become involved in the process of governance. And so it is a dangerous way to have the young looking on in resentment and cynicism of a system by which they are governed. So the only way they must buy into that, and they must take responsibility. They must be part of that new generation. And so I see my role and my job is to have people arrive in a future of their own making. For in that way, we will build a nation where people enjoy the freedom and contribute meaningfully without being afraid of discrimination because of the views that they may hold. While some may not agree with me, I want to make it very clear that accommodation and inclusion must be our watchwords. It is in this context I take full responsibility for the changes that you are seeing in the composition of the UNC's slate of candidates for the upcoming election. Some are saying all these new people with no experience. Let me tell you something. In 2010, we just had 5 weeks to put a team together to win an election because the Prime Minister then called a snap election. 5 weeks to put candidates in place, and we won that election. And when we formed the government, Winston Dukaran and I were the only two people with cabinet experience. Understand that? Only two of us had cabinet experience. And we governed well. You'll see the achievements, you see all the things we've done. We governed really well. So newness is not a contributing factor to not being successful. Sometimes newness is great because you're ready to take on new challenges, take on new ideas, take on new ways of doing things, because we cannot do the same old, same old, same old and expect change. We cannot. So I take full responsibility for the changes that you will be seeing, have seen, and will see in the composition of our slate of candidates. The mix of skills and resources amongst this group has been aligned to our economic transformation plan. Understand that. It is aligned to the economic transformation plan that we can find a space and a place where they can all contribute. And they're there to deal with the critical problems which face us as a country. Let me boldly declare we cannot and will not move forward with the same old, same old. Then you say, well, I'm old. Okay, fine. That's okay. But age is just a number. Age is just a number. As much as we need the new generation of leaders, we will also need experience of those who have traveled the road. I fully understand that. At different times in our lives, we must be prepared to play different roles. And I'm saying, yes, the young, they're not so young, but it's not just about age. Age is a number. It is about the new and the energy. That energy level must be there. We cannot go same old. We must have that energy. And the young ones have that energy. I envy them. They have that energy. And so I take responsibility and I invite them to join. And to those who may not be selected by the screening committee, there is a space and a place for you, because we need some experience and we need some fresh, bright new energy. We will marry the two together. There is a space for everyone. When we form the government, there are thousands of spaces and places for everyone. So do not feel discarded or left out. You have played a part on this journey. You have brought us this far. Do not abandon us now because you're not selected as an MP, because only 39 people will be MPs. But there are thousands of other positions and spaces. I ask you to continue to journey with us, to stand side by side. I congratulate Fuad Hussain. Sorry, Fuad. Well, I've changed your name. Fuad Khan, Dr. Khan. I'm so proud to see him working with young Saddam. I congratulate Clifton Decote. He was the first one in Maruga Tabela, he says, leader, I'm not putting a nomination. I want you all to get someone younger, a new person to go. I congratulate. He was the first who stepped out. I congratulate Suraj Ramachan, who took the same position, but he's helping us as we campaign. I congratulate Tim Gopi Singh. I thank them for allowing the party to get this space to move forward. So, again, as I say, as we need a new generation of leaders, we also need those with experience who have traveled the road. At different times in our lives, we must play different parts. In saying so, I invite the collective will and energies of our party to now work towards the transformation and security of all in a new world defined by the realities of COVID-19. My vision is to build an intelligent nation, for intelligence will be the platform for global competition and national prosperity. Let me declare that we have the most talented people in the world. And further, we are the only political party which exhibits diversity, and that is the strength of the UNC. I take pride, I say again, in ushering a new generation of leaders representing the diverse communities and peoples of our country. I am proud of them. I ask you to be proud of them. Let us be all together UNC and proud. Let us be proud of their achievements. I'm inspired by their commitment to country and by their determination to work for a better future. Together, we will transform the economy and we will build a better Trinidad and Tobago. May God bless you all. I miss you all. I'm talking to a camera here, but I hope you're listening and watching me. I miss you. I miss meeting with you. But our teams are on the ground, and I will be on the ground shortly. May God continue to bless each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you very much.
Father God, it's me again. Father God, it's me, your son again. Father, I know them a blow breath in a man. inna the mag like that.